What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of In the Middle with Dominique. It's me, Dominique. And today, as you could tell from the thumbnail, the title, everything, we have a guest today. And so, one of the person that we have today is someone that I'm familiar with. I'm not going to take for granted that I actually know him. Our lives crossed paths briefly for a short period of time, and I'm just in a space of trying to reconnect with people in a way that is beneficial for the community. And I think he's one of the people that could help elevate us in a way that could be beneficial for us all. So please, everybody, welcome Coach Get Right to the to the conversation, aka Mac Young.
Happy to be here.
Oh,
Wow, grateful to be here. Thank you.
nice. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from? Where you at?
Uh, okay. I mean, I don't like to talk much about myself, but I was born in the Bronx, raised in Harlem. Um, you said where I'm at. I now reside in Tulum, Mexico. I've been here ever since the pandemic, so I'm like a COVID refugee, humbly on this land. Um, yeah, I am a holistic strength and wellness coach. So I'm like pretty much helping men heal themselves, helping the human race heal themselves through mindfulness practices and yeah, giving them the glass of water that they didn't know they needed. They was thirsty, and I'm just giving them that glass of water.
Nice. I got mine.
Yeah.
Y'all better get yours. Okay, so you said that you was raised, or that you was born in the Bronx, raised
Mhm.
in Harlem.
Yeah.
But would you consider Harlem like your stomping ground, like your original stomping ground? Cause
Yeah, I mean, made in the Bronx, I think inner city cumulatively is just like it builds a mold over you that it could go good or bad for you. Like, and I think you heard the saying, if you were born and raised in New York, you can survive anywhere in the world. And that being said, I knew that I could be here on this land humbly in Mexico. But yeah, born in Bronx, Lebanon Hospital in the Grand Concourse. Um, you know, I think the first 5 years of my life, I was like on Morris Avenue and Trinity Avenue, and then migrated to Harlem. So a little bit of both, best of both worlds. And those are two different. Well, when I was growing up, those are two different type of people. If he was from the Bronx, he was from Harlem. So I had to make a decision in high school, and I was saying I was from Harlem. So
okay, so you picked the better side.
I wouldn't say the better side. We ain't gonna go
Okay,
there,
okay.
but it's a different swag. I definitely got into the jigginess, the culture, Harlem, more creativity, more dance. Yeah, it definitely shaped me into to who I am. I was able to um, be the best expression of myself during that time in Harlem. It was
Mhm.
infection. It was infection. So, yeah, well known in Harlem too. So,
Yeah, speaking of which, you touched on a couple of things that I want to talk about. One being like your main demographic of people being men, right?
mhm.
And then we talked about, you mentioned dancing and stuff like that. So speaking to the let's say well-known part of it and the dancing part of it. So we met and connected in Delhi, but and when I met you, like I told you before, I remember seeing you in the dining hall dancing, and you didn't have your shirt on. So I came home. I came home and I told my friends, I was like, "Yo, this tall, dark skinned dude. Like he reps Harlem crazy, and like he really be dancing, like really be dancing." It was like, "Wait, he tall? He don't have no shirt on. Oh, that's Mac,
Ah.
legendary. This is what you was
you
doing."
know, I was able to, yeah, let go fully. And I was just like, man, let's experience it. This is a time. You ain't gonna get this time back. So hey,
No, no,
I
no.
was
We're talking about before we got to Delhi. You was legendary in Harlem for being in the
shirt off.
party
Oh
with
yeah, shirt off for sure. Shirt off shorty for sure. That was when I was growing into my body and seeing how I was feeling. And I was like, I bet, like I'm comfortable. Let's take it off.
So where did
And
that like reassurance, that confidence come from? Or did
Women,
you have it?
women,
Okay.
women. And it started out with my women, like my mother and my grandmother. They obviously groomed me into the man I am today. So thankful for them. Saying, hey, like your body is nice, like your skin tone is nice, like all right, cool. That's all. Your whatever you're saying. That's the only thing that matters to me. Nobody else's opinion. I
Mm-hmm.
say, and then like yeah, show it off. Take your shirt off.
Okay, so it started in the house.
Yeah, I mean like my grandmother got videos of me flexing up. I'm taking the shirt off, got the diaper on, like yeah, posing up like a superhero. This was destined for me for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then we moved it to like Harlem and talking about brotherhood. I do know that you was like in a group, like was it there like click because like between 2006, I would say probably like I'm gonna just round it off between 2005 and 2010. Harlem, New York City, the boroughs had crews. Were you
Hmm.
a part of a crew?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was with HMV, Harlem Envy. And yeah, some brothers of mine for who the world knows now, ASAP Ferg, my boy Justin West, my brother Justin West, who's a super dope artist. He's designed Rockies, ASAP Rocky's album covers Ferg's, Dave East. But yeah, we was jiggy. We was jiggy. We was jiggy. We was jiggy. HMV, yeah.
Yeah. So that was before you head off to college. You
Uh-huh.
went off to college and then, you were coming out of your shell. I got there maybe, I don't know, I got there in '08. So I don't know how far along you were in your experience by then.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you at? Like, was
Oh
this,
eight, oh eight. I was in my second year.
okay, so like third semester.
Yeah, I was in my second year because I had came in with credits. Did I? No, excuse me. No, that was actually my second college. Pardon me. Yeah, I was in my second year.
Okay.
Yeah,
And what did you end up studying, taking up
it
or
was
graduating?
sports event entertainment. Yeah, sports SEE, sports event entertainment. And that was beautiful. I learned a lot about the dynamics of sports. Before you see the game, there's a lot that goes into the theater setup before the crowd gets in, crowd control, the seating arrangement. How long does it take to put up and break down like the actual structure of the game, the flooring, like the icing? It was cool. I learned officiating of all sports. I did some recreational stuff. Was out in nature because Delhi was all wilderness. We were in the mountains, and we got out there. That was beautiful. Yeah, I took some landscaping classes, learned about shrubs and trees and everything. Yeah, and I got my associate's degree from Delhi.
Nice. What were like some of the things that interest you? I know like did you participate in any extracurricular activities on campus that spoke to who you were at the time?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that found me, like my personality. Like you said, I was dancing, shirt off, instantly BSU, Black Student Union. I was affiliated with Conquer Them, right? Was it?
Yeah, the dance crew.
I was in a dance club. Um, the basketball team. I remember. I think I played. Did I play? Or was that Johnson Wells? See, I'm tripping. I didn't play basketball, but I had a chance to, I guess, try out or something. I was really cool with the basketball family too.
Yeah.
Shout out to my boy Bop and rest in peace, Swaggerville. Yeah, I guess I was affiliated too with the basketball guys. I always was drawn into the sport and the physicality. So yeah, I was a part of those. And I don't know if I can remember anything else. Intramurals, like played some intramural
Mhm.
sports.
I do know at one point, for your love of music, yeah, you dance, but I know you got some chords on you too, don't you?
Dang, it's interesting. You remember that? I was coming from here, tenor, coming
Yeah.
from here. What
No,
was
I
the name of
loved
that group?
being in the. I loved being in the choir. I don't remember what the name was, but
Right.
the choir itself and it being directed by Xavier, he was such a great. He had
Yeah.
a great ear, and I remember walking into like Farrell with Anthony, my best friend at the time, and I think he might have already had spoken to Xavier, and he was like, "Oh, you're Dominique? Oh, you can sing, right?" And I had a lot of situations like that with people telling me like, "Oh, you're Dominique, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, but who are you?" And I don't like this.
Right.
And
Yeah,
so
I
you
mean,
had invited me to the choir, and I loved it. I mean, you wasn't on the choir at that time, but yeah, I loved it.
it was a beautiful time. So much growth, so much, so much connection. Right, and we here today,
Mm-hmm.
13 years later.
Yeah, word. Like the only thing that I would say about Delhi to me, it wasn't the space for me. I mean, I was flourishing in the summertime, and once it started snowing up there, it didn't stop snowing. I can't. I couldn't. It was like winter until April, and like I did not like that. And then it was time to come home by May. I'm ready to
Right.
turn up and get the fuck up off of this mountain. Like,
At the tippy top of the mountain too. Like,
okay, that's not regular fog. Those are real ass clouds up there.
yeah, we were in the clouds for sure. Walking to class, you got all kind of deers and stuff. I remember seeing deers, and one time I could have sworn I seen a mountain lion coming from Russell to like Murphy Hall, coming up the hill. Yeah, we were
Yeah,
in
I didn't spend too much time outside walking around. I went,
boonies,
yeah, nah. I
the
stayed in my
boonies.
room, or I went to Murphy for dance practice, and
Hmm.
I don't remember where the choir rehearsal was, whatever academic building that was. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's the only
That
place.
was, I think, Farrow Hall.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I be trying to remember. You know, that's important because
Yeah.
we're so caught up into our phones and everything that we start to forget, and we gotta kind of sharpen our minds. What were we doing before the phones? You know what I mean? I test
Mhm.
myself daily. Test myself with that.
All right. So you said that you was able to connect with nature, and then fast forward, how did you end up in Mexico? Like,
Oh
so you
man,
okay? So you were here in New York. You were at Delhi, upstate. Then you went to Johnson and Wells.
that was Providence, and then I went to the one in North Carolina as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got a little bit of up north, and then I went down south. I was in LA for a minute.
Hmm.
From LA, yeah, because I pursued a dream to be like a stuntman out of LA. You know, LA is so superficial. It was more like people were doing more than they say they were doing, like literally Hollywood. You know,
Mm.
you're looking around like, where are the cameras? And you're talking to somebody, but they trying to figure out how they gonna how they're gonna like connect with you, right? If you were doing this and doing that, then they want to be around. If you wasn't, then they was like off to the races to somebody else. But that's the LA culture, right? Very toxic. And I wound up moving back to New York, and through that transition, there was like a spiritual awakening that happened in LA, being my way into New York. And I knew when I got to New York, I couldn't continue to feel what I was feeling, being there from the energy that I got picked up. Literally, spirit spoke to me and was like, "You got to be here during this time." And I had to separate to elevate. Came out to Tulum and been here ever since the pandemic. You know.
Well, how old were you when you felt like you were receiving that awakening, the spiritual awakening?
Mm,
How old were you?
I was in my mid 20s. Yeah, mid 20s, I would say 24, 25. Got
Mm.
it, you know. And that also, during that time, I had a shift in my nutrition behavior. I stopped eating meat, you know, so I was able to come clear on the spirit and get downloads,
Mm.
you know, from the highest. And, you know, a lot of my life was like very resistant. And I just learned to surrender during that time, you know, because the intuition of a man is also strong as a woman. We have it, but a lot of the time, the masculinity, you know, overrides that, or the ego overrides that.
Yeah, definitely.
So I was able to surrender and let go, and I was around some beautiful people who really um, pushed me into my light, and I started seeing different and feeling different. I was like, all right, I gotta leave this place. It's time to, you know when it's time to go, you know,
Oh, yes.
and and I was like, knowing who I am, um, having the tools to go into a place where it was unknown. I was like, all right, yeah, there's a bit of fear, but on the other side of fear is growth. On one side could be a lack of faith of who you are. And I was like, I know who I am. I'm trusting myself, trusting thyself, and moving with that. And when I arrived at Mexico, a lot of other things turned on and activated. So I'm going where the activation is. I'm going where the fruit are growing. I'm going where the sun is strong.
Yes,
I'm
where God
following
is
that.
guiding.
That
um,
part.
well, I do believe that God is everywhere. I'm sure you know that also. But speaking of which, what were some of your spiritual practices prior to this spiritual awakening? Was there any, or were you
Um,
like
yeah,
spiritually adjacent?
I was gifted a book from a great friend of mine. She's from Thailand. And you know that coach over there is very calm. Like one thing that when I first met her, I was like, this woman is really calm. And, they say peace is a weapon. When you can be, calm and making better decisions for yourself and not being so impulsive and breathe,
Mm-hmm.
you could be dangerous, because the world is being sped up now, right? So many
Mm-hmm.
people don't know what's going on. But anyway, I was, I've always took heed and eyes to women. I grew up around all women. I lost my dad at the age of 2. So when I get around women with some substance, I'm literally like a child, eyes open, and I'm just listening and watching because you women have you're the conduit, you're the container of life. When you want to have something, I think you should run an idea through all women. So I was just around, this friend of mine from Thailand, and she was like, I got a book for you. And sure enough, when she gave me this book in LA, being around her and reading the book changed my life. And the title of the book was called Man Heal Thyself by Supernova Islam, Queen of Fua's son. This was the first edition. And when I opened that book, from the practices that was being given in there, I was able to implement them in my everyday life and strengthening up myself into a supreme being, an illuminated man, like doing the work, And yeah, I got out of harm's way and started loving myself and being patient. And that was mostly the practice. It felt good. It's like it feels good. You don't want to go back to the feeling of being in pain or being in discomfort or irritable or negative talk, like because we all got it, right? But it's a part of us.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing how to combat with that, you can always win the bout, because it still comes up. Like I'm not going to get rid of anxiety. I'm not going to get rid of depression. This is part of the experience. However, I have enough tools now to be like, okay, you need a little attention anxiety. Cool. I mean, because that's all it is. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
it's like a child that needs attention. It's not a weight bearing down on your neck that's choking or suffocating you, but you have to pay attention to,
Mm-hmm.
to it. So yeah, that
Yeah, I
answers
think
your
it's
question.
yeah, definitely. I think it's interesting that you went through your spiritual awakening around like your mid 20s.
Mhm.
There's this are you familiar with like Saturn returns? Have you ever heard of that?
Vaguely, but you can definitely go into detail.
Yeah, so it's like around your mid to late 20s, the Saturn is supposed to come back to where it was when you were born.
Mm.
And a lot of times that comes with like implementing new structure because Saturn rules the bones in structure, Capricorn, and I don't remember another one, but it's very internal like infrastructure. So
Mhm.
as far as it's interesting that when you grow up for a while you're either under the tutelage of your parents or somebody else, and then there's this point in life between your teenage years that you are in exploration
Mhm.
independently, and then like I feel like around 20ish is where there's a spiritual intervention where you have to make a decision ultimately. And so, yeah, to be able to recognize that at that time, to then, understand that the world is yours anyway, living in New York and then traveling to LA, operating, seeing that that wasn't good for you, coming back and knowing that this wasn't good for you, listening to your spirit. Because a lot of time people feel stuck and they don't understand what their options are.
Mm.
And so understanding that you have more options than one to
Mhm.
actually leave the country and live somewhere else, I think is really brave and courageous.
Thank you. Yeah, it was.
especially during the pandemic. Like what? The
Right.
world was shut down. We was all in the midst of a new structure.
Yeah, not knowing, right? Like, yeah, I'm so grateful and thankful for the highest for guiding me, and I trust it, and I feel like with courage comes wisdom. So I'm like, man, it can't be worse where I'm at. I had a friend of mine developing a movie script that was out here during that time. He's actually Chris Rock nephew, and he's an actor in LA. But he was like, FaceTime me. He showed me where he was. I'm like, bro, like everybody's either boxed in, they're home, panicking. You on a beach? Where? He's like, man, Mexico, Tulum. There's probably only 50 people out here, but we're on the beach. And it's almost like a reality TV show. Like, I'm like, what? I was on the next thing smoking.
Mm.
And when I got on the plane, it was me and another person on like a 160 passenger jet. Like, and I was like, wow, like this is the first time ever. It was literally two people. And I looked to the back and I looked at him. I said, I guess we're doing this. And he was like, yep, let's go. Got here. And man, it was so eerie, like the airport empty. Like you could drop a pin and hear it in the airport. Like, and yeah, I got here and been rooted ever since, It's a
So
lot
what
of work here for me. I'm
you said
sorry.
it's a lot of work?
Yeah, it's a lot of work for
Yeah, I
me
was
to,
gonna ask, like, what are you doing?
yeah, a lot of work to do for myself, but also I knew when I came here during the pandemic that I could be here years after because for what I do, it can be anywhere in the world. As a strength and conditioning coach, people always want the physicality, right? People always want to be in shape, but now more so, my philosophy is more of the mindset. So I'm like learning that the hard drive is the mind and the software is the body. So if you want to update your body, you got to update your hardware.
Mm.
And that's where it's at. And I learned these techniques obviously through the men's groups that I was in and coming across. I got friends out here who are quantum physicists, Reiki here. Was like I'm around these magical people that you have no other chance, but no other choice but just to grow big with amongst these other giants that are helping saving the world. And yeah, feels good, and all it's infectious. So like, spirit tells me sometimes when I got to tune it down a little bit because it's I can be extroverted at times and I want the best for people, but it now might not be the time to get it through to them. So the best thing to do is just continue to work, and as the world evolves, people will be ready, and I have open arms and open heart for that. So yeah, that's what's
Yeah,
going down.
somebody was just asking me today, like, who's your target audience? Who's your target audience? I'm like, I don't give, not to say I don't give about those people, but I'm just like, I'm looking for the people who are looking for me. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
trying to target a specific group of people. I'm not trying to bend myself in a particular way to make sure that I get these group of people. I learned I'm kind of big into astrology. I found out recently that my North Node is in Aquarius, and your North Node is supposed to tell you what your life purpose is. Now, attached to Aquarius, for me, has to do with freedom, freedom and self-expression.
Mm-hmm.
So for a long time, I've been an observer and been able to watch. I feel like I'm left-handed because I mimic. I think I could sing because I mimic. I think I could dance because I mimic. And so being able to alchemize or do whatever it is, I just needed to find out what was mine as opposed to what was theirs and being able to take a piece of it. So, yeah, I'm really glad that I'm in this space and to be able to connect with you. I'm looking forward to see what other people come on to this with me, with you. Um, Recently, I have learned about some metaphysics and stuff like that too. You have mentioned Reiki and magic, and you said something before about shrubs and learning about nature. Is there Has there been a connection between magic, nature, and the people that you've been around since this surrendering of ego?
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. I've learned that when you're resistant and closed, nothing can come in. It's literally like the universe buries these gems and jewels within us all, and it'll sit back and just watch to see if we discover them. But the only way we discover them is if we open up, we activate our heart, we activate our spirituality, we activate our pineal glands, right, to be in our God body to receive. And um, I realized my entire upbringing around my mother, who was hardened and emotionally guarded, had me the same way.
Mm,
I was more so, and still today, the work is still being done. The shadow man creeps in, but I'm so much stronger and built resiliency. But I'm always in my head, and spirit more wants me to be here and feel in my heart
mm-hmm,
and open up. So when I do that, man, I shake the world.
mm-hmm,
Like when I tell you I shake it, I feel like from where I'm at right now, I can feel the people that I once was connected, let's say 10 years ago. I still feel their pain. I can still hear their cries. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm like the work needs to be done, because those people you touched still need you to be doing what you're doing, because you have left an impact. But don't stop, don't quit. Like,
mm-hmm.
so that's like, my motivation and opening up, obviously connecting with nature. Nature is our greatest teacher. Just sitting out here, like I watch the sunrise, and there's probably 20 different species of birds that come flying around. Not a pigeon, not a project pigeon, not a street, you know what I'm saying, a gangster pigeon in New York, but a toucan. These red robins. Like I'm like amazed, watching them. Nature doesn't have no watch. Nature doesn't have a clock. Nature doesn't know what day it is. Nature just goes with the rhythm of the universal law. Watch the sun, like the circadian, like all of these rhythms that they have us forget about. I'm now unlearning to relearn, and it's the beautiful thing to. I'm like, who would have ever thought from Delhi that I would be living here in Mexico, and made a decision as a master of my decision to say I would never live in the States again.
Mm,
Right now, or predicted that 2020. I'm
mm-hmm.
never. You couldn't pay me enough to live there.
Now, I know a lot of your work is in the physical, but you did mention about it being, or you focusing on the mentality. I like to think of mental health. I associate it a lot with like heaven and hell. A lot
Hmm.
of people, think that heaven and hell is a place that is far from them. And I think like what spirituality does a lot of times is bring things to us. So the ability to check the mind, check the heart, and being able to show up in a particular way, I think is very godlike. But I think positivity, negativity, the same way we have good and evil,
Hmm.
mental health, like the quality of your mental health has a lot to do with your establishment, to me, to your heaven and the hell that we create, or that we have the ability to create individually. How do you
Hmm.
feel about that?
I mean, exactly what you said.
Mm,
You know, not to cut your wisdom, but I'm like, that is it. That is it. Literally, as above is below. What we have stored in for us, we're just like pools waiting to be activated. Everyone has it, but you know, I say this to my clients now. It doesn't even have to be with the physical. It's more like whatever brings you present pleasure, go with that. If it feels good, if it's pain, it's going to lead to future pain, right? If it's pain now, it's going. So you got to learn how to get to the root of it, remove it, attack. It's going to be uncomfortable, but it's worth it. It's going to be like a whole different realm, a whole different opening. Um, yeah, you're gonna feel portals open up. You're gonna feel utopia. Like you're gonna like it's there for us all. But our DNA has a lot to do with our environment. Pretty much has a lot to do with the DNA sustainability of our DNA. And once I remove the body wisdom, sometimes we try to overcomplicate and outsmart the body. It has its own intelligence. The body knows I'm here in Africa. I mean, excuse me, because that's where I'm supposed to be in October. But the body knows I'm here in Mexico, right? Our ancestors have walked this land, so it remembers and reminds me who I am every day and how much and who has sacrificed up into who I am today. So I give thanks, you know what I'm saying, to the ancestors, and they're watching over me. So I'm guided. I know that for a fact. And like really there's nothing to live in fear in a simulation. Like, so, within the activation, you're just like releasing and letting go so much that you felt like you once needed. And you get lighter. You get lighter. You literally feel trauma leaving from you just doing the work. But it ain't gonna make it. It's not gonna be easy for you. Life is not easy. You feel me? So that's where we at with it.
For context, real quick, what's your mother's astrological sign? I know you're a Scorpio, right?
Yeah, my mother is fiery. She is an Aries. My mother's an Aries.
The first.
Yeah, she's March 23rd. And
my dad's birthday was the 24th.
Wow, I see.
Nice.
Yeah, she, and here's the thing, if I can say this message to get it through to anybody, because it helped me. The purpose that we're living out is to make peace with our parents. And once you do that, because I lost my dad at the age of 2, and I realized my mother is and the God herself. She is God herself and my father embodied, So super powerful woman. And I just had to surrender to a lot that she had, has to say today still to me. And it's like, whether she knows it or not, the work is being done through me because I'm 50% of her and 50% of my dad. So I remember there was a time I was trying to shove fitness and wellness down to her, and it wasn't fitting. It wasn't for her at the moment. I just do what I need to do. And it's interesting. My mother follows me on Instagram. She follows me on social media, and she interprets like how the world interprets me. They want to get closer and they want to learn my ways. But when I tell her verbally or through a phone, it's like, oh, boy, but she gets it differently. So I've been using that platform for that. And so just learning to meet her where she is. And I'm not here to argue with her. Like, we're on the same team. I noticed that. Like, as part of being a man too. Like, surrender to the female energy, bro. Just surrender. Like, there is no arguing. You're gonna say what you have to say. I'm gonna say what I have to say. And that's the end all be all. I'm not arguing with you at all. With grace, and I'm holding space for whatever it is that has to come through. But you're not, it's really hard to get me back to where I once was because I'm so far into the healing and it feels good. So
I bring up your mom and y'all's dynamic because you have brought it up as far as like women and her strength. But I think it's interesting to understand the elements as far as like her fiery side, but your deep water side. You are a water sign, like a deep water sign. Like,
yeah. I put the fire out. I put the fire out on my mom's.
Okay. And you know how to okay, so when I was during the pandemic, there's this song that came out on Scissors, and this was like before. And Pretty Little Birds, she ends up saying like, but you swim as well as you fly. And that really resonated with me because, like I said, I like to be close to the sun. I feel like I dwell in the sun. I'm sure we do, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But, Icarus was a really big story for me. That do you know the story of Icarus? Okay, so but we know that Icarus's story ends when he hits the water, right?
Yes.
See, so being the ability to be able to swim ended up being an inspiration to me, understanding that we have land, yes, but I want to expand. Like, I want to be able to go everywhere, but also understanding the connection to us as colored people, the connection to the ocean, the connection to water, all of those things. I just felt like in the pandemic, it was time for me to now go deeper. And I went as deep as as I have ever gone.
Mm.
And during that time, I was around 32, which made me evaluate my relationship with my mom because she had me at 32. And
Ooh.
so I was like comparing our lives, trying to figure out where she could have been throughout different points of my life mentally as a woman, not as a mom, you know?
Mm.
And so that helped me a lot to get to know her spiritually. Because, I mean, there were questions that I asked her, but even in her delivery, I felt like I was able to obtain more from speaking to her. Like I could place myself back into that space from my own experiences, going through my own Saturn return. I could really empathize with her woman to woman. So I
Mhm.
just think that's cool that, you know, there are times where our parents, they see us as their children, but then there are also times too when, you know, God lets them know that we are God beings as well.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
had to, I had to stand up. I had to stand up and set boundaries with my mother. I don't play around. I don't play around. Like what you're looking at is a mirror of you, a byproduct of you. So you created this, and um, we're their teachers, right? It's our turn.
Mm-hmm.
We're teaching them, and my mother knows. She always says, why are you so serious about this and this and that? I'm like, Mom, we don't have time. Literally, we are being hunted as a human race. We are being sacrificed. It's a lot going on, and we need to take our lives a lot more serious than we do, because if we playing around, then imagine what they doing. So I start taking things serious that I wanted that I wanted to really have structure. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that's just, I can't describe it any. I hold space for like like being a child. Like I do play around. I love to play. I love to have fun, but most of my life is like, nah, how we get from here to here, and how we get from here to here, and then from here to here. Like
Mm-hmm.
let's keep it going. Let's keep moving.
So
Let
let's
me,
answer that. Oh, go
can
ahead.
I got tea on being made right now. I just want to turn it off so I don't burn the house down. I'll be back.
Okay, yes. You don't need that. Yes, I'm am just so grateful to be here. This conversation is going well. He's gonna be right back, and he is back.
Yeah.
Um, so I wanted to. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was discipline. Was the what? How are we getting from point A to point B? So what is it exactly as far as like the work that you're doing? How can people connect with you? What are ways that people could tap into this?
I have man, I'm reachable. I answer anybody that's like respectfully in my direct messages that's reaching. I always say the people that are listening are learning, and I'm learning the whole algorithm now too. The demographics and the avatars that I want to speak to. It all boils down to discipline. Discipline is going to help with your level of focus and really sitting with yourself, like I was able to do 3 years ago in my own solitude, and say, how am I showing up? Like, how could I be better? That was always something that I questioned, and um, the answers are all within, right? But we have to silence the mind. We have to silence the mind and go within and to get the answers, because we're so quick to be impulsive and say, "Oh, I don't know, I don't remember." But if you sit with it, right? Because if you were rushing me, like if you sent me a text message and people expect you to reply right away, but you're on my time. Like when I'm ready, I will answer. And that's another thing that speeded us up, like technology. So when we can sit with ourselves and really feel, and feel, then it's like, all right, we got the best answer. That was the best, hypothesis right there. But I would say, taking it day by day, right? Knowing that every day is not going to be 100%, using the 10% or the 5% as it is 100, but setting out the tone. Like I'm setting the tone. For instance, what does that look like? I wake up, the first thing I'm thinking about is just breathing deep into my body
Mm.
intentionally. This is another day that I've been given. This is a gift. From that, I'm now waking up my body slowly, reflective, and the feminine energy is more reflective, nice and slow, coming into my body. I next go into brushing my teeth, and then I do movement. From there, everything is turned on. My nervous system is where it needs to be. My body is acclimated, and I'm ready to take the first steps forward, the right steps forward into projecting my day. And then from there, I'll set out small goals. And if the goals don't get, like I stopped a to-do list, but just a do list, right? Because to do is like, all right, if I don't get it done, I might be hard on myself tomorrow. But the do list is just like today and tomorrow, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. You're going to get to it, allowing that 10% to be the same as 100. And some days are better than others. That's part of the human experience that we're living. I think that we've been, like, our parents was pushing us to go away to college. And it was so much pressure on us that when we finally get the chance to breathe, we're like, okay, what do I want for myself? And that's what I was able to ask myself and come clear on. I hope that answers your question. I was like a little all over, but just back to discipline and again, taking the small steps pragmatically. And before you know it, you'll be like out of here. Like, all right, what else is next?
I'm listening to you, and like other things are coming up that I didn't even plan on talking about. But as far as like what you were saying or discussing, as far as discipline, the idea of rituals came up. Like a lot of people talk about spirituality, and when you hear rituals, they think demons and demonic rituals and things of that nature. But like brushing your teeth every day is a ritual. Making up your bed every day is a ritual. And so I just think that the way that we communicate or the connotations that we put towards words are not even that society has put on certain words has discouraged us, or at least moved us away to divine purpose. Like why is it a big thing, or why are men afraid to make commitments? Why are parents, or why is this negative connotation around discipline? Why is it this granted there's this thing that comes around with pleasure and instant gratification, but I think with discipline and rituals, it gives you the balance of I don't know, like reward, like duty and reward.
Yeah.
It
literally brings you to what is called homeostasis, where you're just like, you're balanced. You're balanced. You're here and not here. That plays a huge role. And again, it's sad to say, but it is the truth, and that's part of the work that I'm practicing, is to be in my divine truth. Is that it's not for everybody, right? It's not for everybody. Can't come. For those who receive it, even just a little bit, like you might see this little spark in you, or somebody might see it. That is up to you to take into consideration for what that spark is, to how do I continue to emit this light and brighten it. And you go in and fine tuning it, polishing it up, so you keep shining brighter and brighter. It's the work that really no one wants to do. But this is the work that's going to bring you into the next realm. This is the work that's going to bring you the distance. This is the work that's going to give you the blessings and abundance with you, polishing up that light. But it ain't going to be for everybody.
Right. Speaking of light and abundance, that moves us to the future. What do you see yourself for the future? Do you see yourself as a parent, as a husband, as a servant? Like how do you see yourself?
It's funny you say this, because like I may have a lady friend of mine, which I call my lady friends, my lady friends, flowers. I call them flowers.
Right? Why? Before you move on, why?
Because as the man, we have to pollinate the flowers. We have to water these flowers. You got to take good care of these delicate flowers for them to blossom. And I have, I would say, just some flowers around me. All right. And everything doesn't have to be sexual. It can be totally platonic. But these flowers, they're brightening up corners of my life. They're bringing in oxygen, exactly what flowers and plants do. Like they're doing that. Yeah, like having it is just the best for me. I kind of like just got sidetracked a little bit from looking at the tea. But what was the question? I'm sorry.
What's next? What's for the
So what is next? So boom,
yes.
I consider myself to be a dad in training right now, right?
Okay.
I feel like if, and this is big right now. Most young men need to be called young men, not boys.
Mm.
When you say
Why?
that as a young man, that young man is growing into a man that's going to be an older man. You keep his mind and you keep him wanting the next level of what a man is, because I didn't grow up really watching men be men, at least
Mm.
the right way, right? There was a condition in there that I took on, in a program that I took on. But um, so I take with everything I do with respect, because I'm gonna be somebody's father and I'm doing the work. I want to create, I guess, what they call indigo children, when two connect, there's a union, and you bring in a child from a clean slate because you're doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
So the cooking, the cleaning, the repetition of good things, you know, emotionally intelligent. Like these are the things that my kids or people just around me are gonna love and appreciate, because it's what we need as humans. It's
Mm-hmm.
infectious. It's what drives me. So, um, having the flowers around me, having people say, "Wow, you're showing up in this way," and I'm like, "Really?" Like, oh, okay, yeah. This is going to help me again when linking the pleasure, the present pleasure, to the future pleasure. I'm
Mm.
only going to be greater in time, you know. So yeah, I'm like, I see myself running retreats. I see myself all over the world doing the work of God, spreading light, getting in touch with many people from the human race, people who have the same ethic as me, people
Mm-hmm.
who are like-minded, and connection. And I want to expand. We were once giants walking this earth. I want to be a giant in that case, where I can reach and tap in with people. Also, learning different languages is huge for me too now.
Mm.
So I'm like 45% fluent in Spanish, which is like interesting because, as we become adults, thank you. Our mind becomes less plastic, right? And it's like hard to get things in, but that's what they told us. I'm
Mm-hmm.
learning now, when you get rid of the toxic waste in your life, it shrinks. Stress goes away. Like it's back here and it's small. But when you start to exercise the capacity of what you have, oof, it's the best thing ever. So don't be listening to what they say. Go ahead and learn yourself. You know, that is the best advice I can give somebody, because yeah, only you know you, not even the doctors you can't trust. Only you know you. And the only way to find who you are and discover who you are is to sit with yourself
Mm-hmm. From within.
from within.
You got to find yourself on the outside from the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, damn, I was gonna say something. I forgot. It just skipped my mind.
It'll come back.
Yeah, it would. It wasn't children.
A wife?
No, I don't. I don't want to get into that.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
don't
want to
either.
get into that. Oh, words. Speaking Spanish and learning language. So my mom had taught me the English alphabet as a kid. Like I knew sign language from the dictionary, things of that nature. I like Spanish specifically because it helps me with English as far as like connotations and actual meanings. Like we have a lot of homophones where we use the same words for different things, but I love that Spanish has like different words for specific things. Like my favorite too is to know, first of all, right? Ser, conozco, right? O conocer, right?
Conozco.
Yeah. I love
Yo.
that.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so like we've gone in the United States, the world is talking about pronouns and stuff like that. But I think like the idea of understanding verbs, being able to understand the language that you're speaking so that you could really get your point across. Like we have a communications background, both of us, but to be able to convey a specific message has a lot to do with tone and word usage. It's very
Huge.
easy for people to misconstrue what you're saying because you haven't elevated your language.
Huge.
You're
Huge.
using
Huge.
small words for big ideas.
Huge.
You're using big words for small ideas, and now you're manipulating people, right?
Yeah, and you're also, when you talk, you're spelling. So the English language is so, oh man, it's so low frequency,
Mm,
and you realize that like it ain't our language. So when you like, I had the biggest admiration. People are meeting out here, you know, 5 or 6 languages. I'm like, I have empathy and compassion for the African in America. Like they are shrinking us
hmm
with the stress. They're shrinking us with the violence and the foods, and it's so much, and we don't know who we are until we step out. Like I'm telling you, when you step out and move, and you like, now I'm inspired every day to wake up in my habits and learn Spanish more. Why? Because it's a muscle that feels good to connect with people from different walks of life.
hmm
And these people are actually in harmony here. These people are actually very spiritual as well, and they know what's going on with the land and what the world is coming to if we don't set things straight. So I appreciate talking and connecting to them with Spanish. Like it's something that they least expect too. Like, wow, they ask me, "Are you here? Estás aquí para vacaciones? Like you're here for vacation?" I'm like, "No, yo vivo aquí. Like I live here." What? And then it's like the conversation is flowing, and I'm like, man. Growing up in Harlem in the Bronx, I was always surrounded by Hispanics.
hmm
My best friends were Dominicans, and I never took the chance because, like every child that's like me in America, is distracted. They
hmm
don't know how important it is to know your surroundings, right? Take the time out to learn Spanish. You can't come here to Mexico and complain about Spanish speaking English. Throw
hmm
that complaining card away. Like, get with the program. This is the way of the world. And I know that now. So now that I know better, I remove myself from the ignorance. And every day is that muscle being exercised. I commit 1 hour a day to Spanish.
So in the United States, we've been having like a conversation about critical race theory. Do you are you familiar with critical race theory?
What is race? I mean, like,
That's why it's called critical race theory.
yeah, it's a theory. Exactly that. Um, they just want us to be segregated. They just want us to be divided. So that being said, I've heard about it, but the theory doesn't set in to my intellect. I'm like, comes through a pass, like
Mm-hmm.
we're all one. We're all ones from ones in our
Mm,
oneness. So
that's a bar. We're all ones from ones,
yeah,
like the Matrix.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I brought up the whole critical race theory because you're around Spanish people, but but you didn't want to learn Spanish. But they also didn't want to teach you. They also didn't recognize you as a brother, even though you were adjacent and maybe, close in relationship, but not they. At the time, the United States has a way of still, even now, making us feel separate from each other.
yeah.
Which used as a tool to separate us, keep us separated.
Part of the agenda.
Exactly. But I also think critical race theory at this time is a part of the agenda too. Now, this may be a little controversial, and I'm going to share this with you here because you don't really have, a bone in the fight. But I just think that from this conversation, there's this man on YouTube. His name is Jesse Lee Peterson. And one of the things that he says is that he's black is slow, but he doesn't believe in racism anymore. And I think that's an interesting concept to adapt despite what's going on. Like obviously there are acts of violence happening, obviously, towards targeted people. Obviously there are small minds operating the agenda, right? But this whole idea of critical race theory of people in power, intellectuals arguing to basically tell the truth of what happened in the United States about slavery and the relationship between whites and blacks. But then there's also the erasure or the eradication of the affirmative action. Affirmative action. Yeah, so they're moving towards eradicating affirmative action. They don't want to put in critical race theory, and I just think that it's a lot of things happening, and people are scared because things are happening. But I think it's moving towards this whole idea of the one, like one race,
Mm-hmm.
things of that nature. But I don't know. The
Yeah,
policies and the structure, the governmental structure here in the United States, to me, doesn't really make sense. Especially, I don't think it reflects the people here now. So, yeah, it's another reason why I gotta go because I don't let the government govern me. So
absolutely. You want your freedom.
I have it. I have it for now in my mind. It's in my mind. So
There we go. That's a huge step. That's
yeah,
a huge step. Now, yeah, I applaud you for that and love you for that. You just continue to walk in that light. Remember, link that pleasure to the future, and
right.
then you're just gonna be walking in towards that freedom. And when you get your ticket to freedom, as you already have, it is already yours. Keep going, because it's like it takes resistance to push for more freedom. Because you
Mm,
can get complacent and just be here, but there is more freedom that you can free up and open up.
mm-hmm.
It's so many layers and many boundaries that you can just break open to treasure boxes. Oh man, so many discoveries, so many discoveries of self. If you think about it, we lived 30 some years in the United States, right? We're not going to say that's wasted time, but that's time for us to just reflect on, like, for the next 30, I want to do this rest abroad and expansion and learning and growth and spirituality. Like, that's where I'm at with it. And there's no turning back. There's no turning back because everything is at the drop of our fingertips. Everything is here. We can find out anything and research anything here. So it's not even about what the Americas is doing. We're seeing what's happening and how other countries are looking and turning their back towards America. So why, as a people, we should even think about what they got set up for us that's systemically been there for before we came here, when our ancestors was here. It's still the same. So I got a saying in my coaching, nothing changes if nothing changes. We got to make the moves. We got to make the moves. Without us, they can't function. You understand? If we
And
just,
that's been the original story. Without us, they can't function because they
yeah,
needed us in order to function. Even then.
absolutely. We did all of that. We built America on our backs, and we still not getting the reparations that we deserve. Like,
Yeah, and at this point, I'm like, they ain't giving it to you. So
no, you gotta go take your own ticket to freedom. They not giving this out. But when you do get it, just know that you protect it and keep running with it. Run like a bat out of hell. They're going, hey man, when I go home, well, I'm not going because home is in my heart and I'm traveling with it. But
uh-huh.
when I visit New York, my mother be like, how long you? 2 or 3 days in and out like a robbery. I can't stand it anymore. It really has expired. And I know when I go back there, sometimes it's to do the work. It might be a life that I need to touch. It might need somebody I need to speak to. And most of the time, it's a loved one. It's a family member. So I'm not, turning my back on that. However, there's so much the direction that I need to be moving forward in. I can't, like, if you were driving a car, imagine driving forward, but looking in the rear view, you're going to crash.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not there anymore. So for those who have been, watching and picking up on this energy, I'm going to continue, and always be here as a helping hand and also to guide you. So that's what's going down.
Please do.
That's what's going up. Excuse me.
Yes. Yes. Beyonce has a thing on Move Forever, the extended version, when she's like, I'm on on cloud nine. I'm so high, I couldn't even tell you what's going down.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
all right.
literally like, the radio, the frequencies, when you had to turn to get that perfect station, Hot 97, it was like, when you get it, it's like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Clear. And that's where I'm at. The frequencies is turned up. The ancestors is like, you protect it. Go ahead and get it. We got you. Go ahead and get what is yours.
Mm-hmm. One of my little bros say, they dialed in. Get dialed in.
Yeah, I got the right number. I'm on the right line. I got call, I got help, I got it all. I got it all.
Mhm. And I
Humbling.
mean, with us, it just proves that it's not just us. Like we're all here for a purpose.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for your time. I'm grateful for the service that you have committed to. Understanding that this is bigger than it's bigger than the past. It's also bigger than the present because the future is longer, right? The future is longer than the past, right? But yeah, I just want to thank you in advance for all of the work that you're about to do, for all of the work that you've already done, for the lives that you're going to touch, the lives that you have touched with this. And yeah, send me your Cash App information so I can send you some coins.
I appreciate that. And I just want to say I receive. I want to thank you for sharing this space with me. This energy, this conversation was bigger than us. We don't know who it's going to touch when you put it out there and we get some feedback. This is what it is. This is what God has wanted us to do to collab, cross collab, and talk to each other and hold space for each other and give love to each other. So this is amazing. I'm very grateful to have this opportunity on this platform to talk about, my life, is strength in telling our stories.
I hope this isn't the last conversation for us, but it is for them for now.
Sure. More to come.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And please tune in to the next episode. This will be available on Spotify and Apple in a couple of days. Hopefully, I'm going to transfer that.
It will. Speak it into existence.
Yes.
It will.
It definitely will in a couple of days or eventually. But yeah, thank you so much. And we'll see y'all later on another time in the middle. Peace.
Salute. Peace.